Hi everyone. This is going to be a very brief introduction to the general aims of this course. I'll be talking a little bit about what I hope that you'll get out of it. You might get other things out of it, and that's fantastic, but here's what I was intending when I put this course together. The course is split into 5 modules, and each module is built around one theater production that you're going to watch. All the other readings and videos augment or give you extra insight into that particular production. Now, in traditional, more conventional theater studies, the way into understanding and analyzing a production tends to be through the script. There's an author, a playwright, who wrote a script, and everything is built around that. Everything is intended to express the intentions of the playwright. So the lights, the sound, the costumes, the set design, the actors and the way they perform, all of those things are supposed to be true to or in some way expressing the intention of the playwright. And then by extension, expressing the intention of the director. The script is very important, especially in productions where they are built around a script. But not all theater is, and increasingly these days, a lot of theater isn't. And the 5 productions we look at, the first one, THEA, will give you something of that more traditional way of looking at a theater production. There's a script, there's directors, there's lighting designers, there's sound designers, there's actors, there's costume designers, there's the theater architecture, there's everything about that, and all of it is there to express the intentions of the playwright. In this case, the playwright, the original playwright, lived about 2,500 years ago in ancient Greece, and what you'll be looking at is a modern adaptation. It's an adaptation as opposed to a translation because the playwright has taken a lot of liberties with the script, trying to stay true to the intent as the playwright sees it, but trying to make it make sense to a contemporary audience. In this case, a contemporary audience that is living in England, or a contemporary audience that is living in England but is also a tourist audience that comes to England to take part in cultural events, including the theater. So the playwright and the director and all of the designers in this case are trying to take that ancient Greek play and make it make sense, make it relevant to the world today, particularly the world of England today. The next production we look at, A Disappearing Number, isn't built that way. There was no script when these artists, Complicité is the name of the company, began creating this work. They started with mathematical ideas. They started with the life of an Indian mathematician and so on. And they experimented in their rehearsal hall, in their studio, around different ideas, working with different materials, working with different ideas. The script, the words spoken on stage, they came later. They came out of improvisations and experimentation. So in that case, you're still in a theater, you still have scenic designers, you still have lighting designers, you still have all of those factors, you still have a director, but you didn't start with a script. You did have a script by the time the production came around, so eventually there is a script that people work on, memorize, they adapt that script, they change it as time goes by because that's how this company works. But it didn't start with the script. So that idea of everything serving an original script, in this case, is not the way this piece is built. The next production we look at in the third module, The Shipment, by Young Jean Lee's company, who's a Korean-American playwright and artist. This one, again, was built a little differently. It does end up with a script that is memorized by actors who perform it. But when it was originally built, the director-playwright, Young Jean Lee, improvised with the actors. These were African-American actors, and she asked them, well, what kind of play do you want to do? And based on their desires and the way that they explored what they wanted to do in the studio and in rehearsal halls, she eventually came up with the script that became The Shipment. So again, you do have a script, you do have lighting design, you do have all the usual factors, but you didn't start with a script. You started with a desire on the part of the actors and the playwright director. Gob Squad's Kitchen, which is the fourth module, again does not start with a script. This is a devising company. That word devising is something that will come up, and devising is, it's a British word actually, that means a certain kind of collaboration, creative collaboration. So in this case, as in the two previous ones, the artists got together, had an idea about something they thought they wanted to explore, and they collaborated creatively in different ways through improvisation, through talking about ideas, through trying things out, through playing with video, playing with set pieces, playing with acting techniques, to come up with this particular production called Gob Squad's Kitchen. One of the main sources for this was Andy Warhol's films that he made in the 1960s. Andy Warhol was a famous American visual artist who also made films on film at the time, because there was really not much in the way of video. And these films became iconic in the kind of art underground. And so these artists, Gob Squad, decide to go back and investigate those films. And the films also took place in the 1960s, which was a period of sort of an idealistic period, you could say. It was the youth counterculture in the West. These artists, Gob Squad, they wanted to investigate what that meant to them when they were making this play many decades later. They wanted to explore ideas of authenticity. And what does that golden era mean to them today? What's the relationship to it? So that's what they did. They explored this thing, they experimented, and they came up with Gob Squad's Kitchen, which you'll watch in the fourth module. Again, there's all kinds of typical scenographic designs. In this case, there's a live video feed, which is a major part of this production. And in this case, we're also seeing hybridization between theater and visual arts practice. That gets taken a little further in the final module, Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. And this company, Fight with a Stick, also works in a devising manner. In other words, it doesn't start necessarily, most of their productions don't start with scripts. They start with an interest in an idea, or an interest in a place, a space, or an interest in a material. This company is particularly focused on working with materials like found objects, set pieces, and so on. So for them, meaning is created not only by words spoken by actors, but meaning is created by the environment, by the set piece, the wood grain, the shape of something, the way something moves across a space, not necessarily a human, the way a video loop can create a sense of time, and so on. They also sourced, I should say, the 1955 film version of a famous American musical called Oklahoma. It's a musical that's done 800 productions a year. So it's not 800 performances, but 800 productions a year are done of this musical. So it's a very prolific musical, and it's been around for a long time. And it itself is based on a play, which was written by someone who was American Indigenous Cherokee, at least part Indigenous Cherokee. And there's a whole history behind that. The play itself, in watching it, that's not apparent necessarily. It's part of the research that the company undertook to create this work. They didn't want to create an analytical experience. They wanted to create an immersive sensory experience. But for those who wish to investigate further, that background information is there. So this is a company that, again, works across disciplines. It's a theater company that is also very much an installation art company, a video art company. Those and other factors are coming together to create this stage performance. So again, like all of the productions, we'll look not just at words spoken, not just words written, but the whole thing. What is the performance like? What is the production like? What are the lights like? What is the space like? What is the sound like? How do those things all work together to create that experience of a theater production that you're watching, that you collaborate with to create meaning? Because everybody sees each production a little differently. right? The way I experience something is different from the way you experience something. And so I create meaning a little differently than you create meaning for all kinds of reasons that have to do with our own personal lived experiences. So that's basically this course. You're going to look at productions, you're going to try to examine them and get to know them in a multisensory way, not just from the script, but from the lights, the sound, the space, the way actors move, the way they sound, what they say, the costumes, the textures, the colors, all of those kinds of things are what I'll be encouraging you to examine and think about and feel while you're watching these productions. And in that way, you'll get a more holistic view of what theater is, not just a script, never just a script. If it was just a script, you could read the text. You wouldn't need to go to the theater. But you do go to the theater and you hear the words spoken and you see the things that happen, and the text can be very, very important, but it will be one factor among others that you collaborate with to create meaning.